Hey everyone, Tarek Patel here from SB Live Sports. It's now 2024 and more Southern Section sit-down coming your way. More special guests primed for the year, and we have one, of course, in studio today. Harvey Kitani, high school basketball legend. He doesn't want to hear that, but that's the truth. He's well over 900 wins in his career, 35 years at Fairfax in the city section, now in the Southern section with Rolling Hills Prep. Harvey, thank you for coming into the studio today.
Tarek, thank you for inviting me and being able to spend some time with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to getting to know you. Looking forward for the audience to get to know you, too. I do want to start a little bit with your origin story, maybe how you got into basketball, and maybe an influence of yours. Did you always want to be a coach? Did you always want to be an educator? Talk about maybe some of your passions early that led to your basketball.
Well, when I was going to college, wasn't sure what I was going to go into. I was a business major, and I was going to school every morning with a person that would drive me, and he was going to get into coaching and teaching, and so we would talk about it every day driving to school, and it sounded interesting. I always liked the coaching. I was coaching youth teams at that time. And so one thing led to another, and I got involved. But my uncle was a Division II basketball coach at Cal State Dominguez Hills and Cal State LA, Dave Yanai, who has mentored so many people in the coaching profession. And he was even the John R. Wooden Coach of the Year a few years ago during the pandemic time, and since he's retired. But so there's been some really good mentorship that has helped me get into coaching.
And you got into coaching at Fairfax young, if I'm not mistaken, 24 years old, took over at Fairfax, 81? Was that the
81.
81, yeah.
I remember getting, I called the school in August because Manual Arts had called me and was asking if I had a teaching position, and I told them no, not at that time. And then Fairfax called me a few days later and offered me the position, and I was over there.
If you could reflect now as we kind of get through the timeline of your coaching, we'll get to the championships and all the victories here in a second, but if you look back, 24 years old, you're leading these young men and coaching the game. What was 24-year-old Harvey Kitani like?
Well, first of all, my first coaching job was at San Fernando High School.
That's right.
And I was commuting from Gardena, and finally got an apartment out in Van Nuys, and then they laid off 118 PE teachers. Wow. Because they eliminated physical education for 11th and 12th graders. And it was after a year of coaching there, and it really broke my heart, and I was going to get out of teaching. And I applied to Pan Am Airlines at that time because my roommate was working there, and I didn't get the job. So
to be a pilot?
No. I was going to work anything, loading or unloading. Yeah. And
okay.
Yeah. So then I went to work with. I was talking to my uncle who was at Cal State Dominguez Hills, and he asked if I'd come on as a walk-on, and I did. And so helped him at Dominguez Hills. That was our first or second year in Division II that year for the NC2As. And then the following year I got the job at Fairfax.
Okay, that's right, San Fernando High.
Yeah.
I did know that, but I skipped over that.
Yeah.
So when you do take over at Fairfax, you were there for 35 years at Fairfax and won, I believe, 4 city titles, 2 state titles, if I'm not mistaken. You left a legacy there, Harvey. Was it the Fairfax coach I saw in a report called you the Mike Krzyzewski of LA City section basketball? I'm not sure if you knew that, but
no, I didn't.
That's quite the compliment. You built such success there. What were the foundations for that success, would you say?
Well, I wanted all the kids and their parents to be secure with the fact that the kids were in good hands from the minute they were dropped off at school until we finished study hall late at night. And I thought, if I had a child, what would I want my kid to be doing all day long at the school? Because these athletes spend so much time, more than they do with their parents on a daily basis, because they're at school from 7 o'clock and they're not home until 7 o'clock. And so it's important, just the direction that they're getting from the minute they arrive to the minute they get back home.
And so that foundational piece, can you maybe explain why that led to winning?
Well, I think as time went on, I tried to teach the kids how to play correctly, but how to be a good person every day at school, and that the ball's going to stop bouncing one day, and they got to do something with all this time they're spending in this particular sport. And I think the parents' word of mouth that, oh, my child is doing this with their coach. You know, he's with them all day, and then they do study hall 3-4 nights a week. Some of the kids, their environment at home maybe wasn't as good as it should have been, so we had them study at school, and also to understand that this is our school library. Don't come with your English class and feel uncomfortable. Know that we come here every night. And so I think word of mouth.
You obviously coached a lot of good players. For those that don't know some of the greats that came through Fairfax that you coached, can you share the players that come top of mind that ended up being really good college or even pro players?
Well, we're lucky enough to have 4 pros play for us, and it started with Sean Higgins, who played at Michigan, and he won the NC2A championship back in the mid to late 80s, and then went with Chris Mills, who ended up his career with Arizona and had longevity in the NBA. Craig Smith, who played at Boston College, and again had a 12, 13-year career in the pros. And then the last kid was Solomon Hill, who again had about a 13, 14-year career in the NBA. And that kind of makes me feel good that these guys survived that long, because they were good people, and the pro teams wanted them in their organization, and so that's cool. I felt honored the fact that I've had a few NBA players send their kids to us. Reggie Theus Sr. had Reggie Jr. play with us. Larry Drew had Landon Drew and Lindsey Drew play for us, and Brian Taylor, who was the backcourt with Dr. J in the old ABA, had Brendan Taylor, his son, come play for us. Brendan now is the current assistant coach at UCLA too. So for those guys who know basketball to trust us with their kids, I thought that was pretty neat.
That is very neat, and I think what an ode and a compliment to you, Harvey, that these guys saw that there's not just the basketball that their kids are going to get, but the building of the whole young man per se. And I could tell that that's really important to you. You mind maybe sharing who instilled the building of a young man to you? Where did you teach that from? Did it come from your upbringing? That's really, really important to you. Can you share that with us?
Well, I think as I got more and more into coaching, you have to keep learning too. And that's something that is kind of a neat thing for me, is that, even though you're working at a certain job in education, with athletics, you're always learning too. And I think as time went on, I just saw the importance of not just the basketball part, which it's important. You want to be competitive, sure, and so forth. But the fact that if you're going to deal with this student athlete every day for 10 hours, it's got to be more than basketball. And so it's taught me to understand, and I'm thankful that I was able to see that.
Enough with the city section. This is the Southern section sit down. You're now at Rolling Hills Prep. And since you've gotten there, Four CIF titles, is that correct? Three, four?
Yeah, four.
Yeah. So and you took over in 2016, was it?
Yeah, 16, 17.
So in a quick turn from Fairfax in the city section to now the southern section of Rolling Hills Prep, you've made a Division I program. From the moment you got there till today, we're sitting here on these couches. What's that journey been like, climbing the proverbial ladder?
Well, at our banquet every year, for the first 6 years, we had no Most Valuable Player award. The MVP award went to our parents because they were on the same page as myself, our coaches, our school. And, when you have just one voice, you can really accomplish some things. When you got so many voices complaining their own agenda, it makes it difficult, and that's what will drive me out of it. So I knock on wood that at Rolling Hills Prep, our parents have been the most valuable player, and you need that because the kids are our kids, and they're going to go with what they want to think and what they want to hear. But when there's just one voice, they know that eventually that's the only way that it's going to be.
Has that become more difficult as your coaching career has progressed? I would think that the influence of trainers, social media, maybe expectations that exceed potential, those factors probably make it a little more difficult for you to keep a young player on course.
Yeah, but it was happening back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah. So it comes down to communication, and I remember at Fairfax, we had so many voices, and I had to say to a parent once, you know what the college coach, the first thing he asked me about your son? And the father said, know what? I said, he wanted to know if the guy yelling in the stands was so-and-so's father. And so I told the father, I know you mean well, but at the same time, these college coaches, they're recruiting you too. And so it's important that, you understand that. I know you, and I know when you're yelling or doing this, I know where you're coming from, and we have a good relationship. But I said, these other guys don't know you. And so, you have to make that choice. And so going back to your first question, it's always been around, and it will be forever. Basketball is one of those sports. It is a sport that everyone thinks they have the answer. Myself and some of the other coaches, we would laugh that if a calculus teacher said something about your son or daughter, what are you going to do? Complain and say that it should have been this way or that way? Or if a calculus teacher says, your son or daughter hasn't answered a question in 3 weeks, you think the parent is going to complain? Or, it's if the kid doesn't get so many shots, they're complaining. So anyway.
When you're dealing with parents, I know you kind of touched on it, but just to dig a little deeper, it sounds like you've got great ones at Rolling Hills Prep. But on an overall scope in all your years of coaching, that's the part of high school that I think some people forget. Yeah, you got a child and a player, but they're only 16, 17, 15 years old. Every young person that you coach has parents that care. Explain that dynamic and maybe how important that is to you.
Well, when you feel it, at the game, or you feel it when you see the parent after the during the course of the game. I always look at myself first, and no matter what, try to give the parent the benefit. And then I think about the kid, and especially the kid. And I will talk to the kid from the standpoint of not, oh, your parents look unhappy, or, but from the standpoint of where he is in the moment that day, and just to let him know that I'm with him. And then we'll go to practice, and I'll start yelling at him again.
Yeah. I think the really high-level coaches, the player will share, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And what I believe coaches like yourself do is now hold players accountable to that goal. And I love the way you just said it. They don't realize how hard it is to obtain that goal, but you do.
Yeah.
And you're coaching them hard because you're trying to keep them accountable to that goal. Are the special players okay with that accountability, and the not so special players, they have a hard time with that accountability?
Well, it's all relative. Special player, I mean, high-level player, an average player, but they all sign up for the same thing. And you sign up, and everyone's not going to be the same level. But to attain excellence, we say that, I get on them about everything. I try to, I want them to be perfect. And then they know that our saying is that we know we can't be perfect, but if we strive to be perfect, then we're going to be excellent somewhere. We're going to find it. We're going to find it. And then even at the end of the day, we're going to be cool with ourselves because we know that we tried.
The landscape of high school sports has certainly changed in the last few years, 10 years, 20. I mean, we could go back and, you could find change within a span of time, how far you want to go back. But certainly with the rise of social media, even NIL, we could touch on that a little bit. But to you, when I say, Harvey, what was it? Compare 1980, mid-'80s high school basketball, and not so much the game, but the landscape of it, compared to 2023, 2024. What are some things that stand out to you the most? Positive or negative?
Well, social media has allowed all of us to be our own reporter, good and bad. I was reading about a particular kid who 2 or 3 people were really high on, and I thought, God, I'm really interested in seeing this kid. And at the end of the year, when the season's over, you find out he went to a small Division III school, which is fine. But during the season, I thought this was a Division I prospect, just from all the media, social media this kid was getting, from maybe his AAU coach, maybe from an events coordinator, different people. Back in the day, if you got your name in the newspaper, we would cut that thing out and put it on our board, and all the kids would see it. I'd Xerox copies and give it to everyone. It was a big to-do. Our goal back then was to make the top 10 in the LA Times. And when you made it, boy, you were proud. Now there's a top 25. Everyone's got a top 25, which is cool. It's good. It's good.
You're
good.
right. You are absolutely right.
Because if one guy's got you on, then you're proud, and you make sure that you let your people know. And but back then, if you got on TV, it was really, really something huge, because maybe there'd only be one story a season.
Sure. Changing gears a little bit, I have to ask, we talked about players you've coached. I kind of thought about this. I usually ask this question earlier in the show, because I ask all the coaches, when you were playing, who were some of the best players when you were a high schooler? Did you go and watch so-and-so play? Oh, this was the big McDonald's All-American type guy. I went and watched him play. So 2 questions. Who was the best player when you were growing up, and did you get a chance to watch him or her? and then maybe some of the best players you've coached against too, Harvey, if you don't mind. Those lists are always fun to go over.
Well, growing up, probably my freshman year in college, I was a student at Long Beach State, and the best player I remember going to watch was our Long Beach State team was good. Tark was the coach, and they played Cal State LA, and it was Raymond Lewis.
Ooh.
And God, I think he scored like 30 something in that, and it was just
in awe.
Yeah, really amazing because we had a good team. A guy named Glenn McDonald was guarding him, and he played with the Celtics. And he came down, and you talk about breaking ankles. He did something that Glenn went out of the game because he hurt his ankle. Yeah.
Okay. Raymond Lewis. And then what about guys that you coached against in high school? I'm sure there's a laundry list of guys.
God, I would say we were in a tournament, and we weren't playing this team, but we were watching because this team was playing for the championship. And unbelievable performance, and it was Paul Pierce.
Oh.
Yeah, he was just, I think they were playing Dominguez in the finals at Long Beach State, and you could just, this guy was just unbelievable.
What was so good about him? What stood out?
Well, he was so cold-blooded that, he's making tough shots after tough shots, and just totally focused, and his whole demeanor was of toughness.
Any other names?
As far as people that we played, I've been known to make players way better than people thought they were.
Oh, here we go. I know it's coming. Okay.
So we played.
Who dropped 50 on you, Coach?
Well, we played Taft High School in the city finals, and a kid named Jordan Farmar had like 30 or something.
Yeah.
And so they ended up beating us in the city finals. Then that same year, we go to state, and we won our game, so we're playing for the state championship, SoCal against Etiwanda. Etiwanda upset Taft in the semis. And Ben Howland's sitting in the front row because Josh Shipp is going to go to UCLA. And a kid named Collison goes for like 35. No one knew about him.
Wow.
I mean, they did, but not like that. He goes
Sure.
for 35, and I think a week later, Ben offered him a scholarship.
There you go, Darren Collison.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's fun to look back. I always share this one real quick story. He wasn't even an NBA player, definitely a pro. I don't know if you remember Bryce Taylor from Harvard Westlake.
Yeah.
I was a freshman in high school, and I remember going to a Crespi Harvard Westlake varsity game, Mission League game, and packed. And I just remember looking. I'm only a freshman. Bryce Taylor's a 6'4" guard. I mean, not crazy, but I just remember looking at him, and the ball, when he was in warm-ups, the ball looked like a tennis ball in his hands. That's just how in awe I was, and he was just such a good player and a great college player. So I like to ask that question because when you reflect on some of these great players, you're in awe of them and you just never know what it might be. For me, it was how big he was and just how good and smooth he was. And for you, Paul Pierce had a killer instinct already.
Yeah.
And that's fun to see in young people, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we played Dominguez in numerous events, and when their center, his name eludes me.
Tyson Chandler.
Tyson.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was like a man.
For sure.
Yeah, blocking shots. We played, talk about social media, we upset Montrose Christian in the Iolani tournament in the championship game, and they were number one in the country. If that happened now, it'd be all over. But that team had two pros, Kevin Durant and a kid that went to Miami, a Hispanic kid, Varelitis
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know.
Wow, you beat Kevin Durant in high school?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, Harvey.
Yeah. It was, that year, So I coached the McDonald's game that year.
Yeah,
Kevin
yeah.
was on our team, and we won the game. And then when we got back to the hotel, Kevin's mother was there, and she brought me in and introduced me to her family, and she said, "This is the coach that beat our team in Hawaii, or they would have been number one." So they ended up being number two. Oak Hill was one that year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. Wow. So who else was on? Okay, who else was on that McDonald's All-American team that you coached, Harvey?
That team had we were the underdogs too. Now, the other team had on our team we had the Lopez brothers.
Okay.
We had Spencer Haas, Durant, DJ Augustine, Darrell Arthur, and we had the current Duke coach John Shire.
Okay.
Yeah. The other team was led by the center, the 7-footer from Indiana, Greg Oden.
Okay.
Yeah, and they had Ty Lawson.
Gosh, I want to say, was that Tyreek Evans?
No,
Was he?
no,
Okay, he
no.
might have been maybe
Yeah,
08.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So, so that was a fun experience.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. And that game was in San Diego, you
San
said?
Diego, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? What was it like coaching in McDonald's All-American game? I don't think California's had that. Man, I know Derek Taylor's done it
Yeah,
from the city
Derek
section.
has done it.
I think Gary McKnight's
Gary,
maybe done it
yeah.
once, maybe even twice.
Yeah.
But it's a short list, Harvey.
Yeah, no, that was it was fun. We were there for a week. Got to meet the other coaches from back east. It was a coach from Wheeler, Doug Lipscomb, I believe his name was. But anyway, you spend the week with both teams, and the charity thing with the Ronald McDonald
Sure,
House.
sure.
We go and visit the home
kids.
over there, and the kids and stuff like that. So really a top flight event. Coach Wooden, was there, and we were down, and we finally got a 5-point lead, and so I'm standing up yelling at one of our guys about with 2 minutes to go. If we don't have a good shot, kind of just hold it if you want to win. And Wooden said to me, "Sit down, coach, and light up the cigar. You're a winner."
That's a good story
yeah,
right there.
Yeah. So
that
it
is
was
awesome.
Cool. It was
That
cool.
is awesome. When you look back on your high school career, you're still coaching. What are you most proud of?
I think just first of all, I want to thank my wife, who's allowed me to do all this stuff, and my 2 kids, because the thing that I think that keeps me going, that I'm proud of, is the fact that I can help people, that I can be some sort of servant to just help them get to wherever they want to get to during this time of their life. And I have passion and fun trying to help them. So I don't look at it like work.
Yeah. I often hear about how assistant coaches at that level, especially at Division I level, how much of a grind it is. Those guys don't get to see their families. It's around the clock stuff. If you're not recruiting, you're watching film. If you're not watching film, you're doing something. I mean, there's just always something to do. And depending on that head coach and how much they can run you into the ground, it can be a tough life. And so I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. So again, I'm just very thankful that the man upstairs has led me to this kind of path. So it's good.
As we close, Harvey, again, thank you for coming on the Southern Section Sit Down. I always ask this at the end. It's kind of generic. You can go where you want with it. I know you've been coaching a long time. I don't know if it comes this year, next year, 10 years. I don't know. I know retirement is something on your mind. Doesn't mean it's coming anytime soon. But I always ask, are you having fun? Are you still having fun?
Yeah, I am. And I tell people that, as long as the kids are receptive, as long as the parents are on the same page and the school is on the same page of just trying to help and provide the direction for our kids, then I'm good with it. But it's not to say that I could see the finish line, but I'm thankful, and I think by it not feeling like work, and then now especially I'm saving 2.5 hour driving commute when I used to go to Fairfax to like 10, 12, 14 minutes. It makes it easier.
Sure. Harvey, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Of course. Harvey Kitani, one of the high school basketball legendary coaches in all of California, certainly the Western region, and of course the city section, and now he's got 4 CIF championships in the Southern section. Thank you for watching. I'm Tarek Patel with SB Live Sports. Don't forget, scorebooklive.com. We cover high school sports nationwide, and of course, we cover the Southern section here in Southern California. Thanks for watching.